Iran already closed the Strait of Hormuz. Now they're threatening to close the world's other critical oil route. Here's what happens if both are blocked at the same time. The second route is called the Bab el-Mandeb, a narrow 18-mile waterway between Yemen and Africa. Every ship traveling between Asia and Europe passes through it to reach the Suez Canal. Iran doesn't control it directly, but the Houthis in Yemen do, and the Houthis answer to Iran. Iran has already warned if the U.S. makes another move, the Bab el-Mandeb is next. So what happens if both close? The Suez Canal becomes completely useless. Egypt loses its biggest source of income overnight, and every ship between Asia and Europe has one option left. Go around the entire continent of Africa, the Cape of Good Hope route. That adds 10 to 18 extra days to every single journey. The world's three biggest shipping companies are already rerouting vessels around Africa just in case. And here's where you feel it. Longer journeys mean higher costs. Higher costs mean more expensive products. Everything gets pricier. The Strait of Hormuz carries 20% of the world's oil. The Bab el-Mandeb carries 12% of global trade. Iran now controls one and has its hand on the other. Iran already closed the Strait of Hormuz.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's what you call strategy. Strategic, longevity, long thoughts. What Esau shown us through his foolishness, his lack of restraint, undiscipline, and straight foolishness. Because this is going to, the Wadi Yahba Shimyan Shai. All right, because the Lord has made a masterful play in the minds of these leaders. First of all, I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'Hashem Yahushai, Ba'Hashem Rakakadash, double honor to the apostles and the elders, a great millstone, salutation to all the brothers and the few sisters out there. Onto his life foreigners, I want to see the Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob Shalom in the Hebrew, which means peace. And this right here is a dire situation, more than you can ever imagine. Now, people can't pretend like they understand geopolitics. How can this be? The U.S. can always take one of these things. You know, they'll say these things, but what they'll fail to understand, one, that area that is speaking of, where all these military bases were at one time strong, has gotten much weaker, has been bombed to hell and back. So that means in the other side of the world, where you have the Pacific Fleet and really the Pacific Fleet, they would have to leave their area, meaning they would have to leave South Korea, the Philippines, Japan, and they'll leave Taiwan by itself, which will lead China. They already took what's that shit called? The FAD. They took some of that from China. From South Korea, in order to re-up what they lost in the Middle East. The Middle East right now is a hot topic. It's always been the centerpiece of the world. All right, mainly the land of Israel, but that whole area right now, what they call the Levant, all eyes is on there. The world can literally stop with these things, this was just mentioned. And no matter that would starve out everybody, because the way trades have been conducted, instead of people relying on their own natural resources, they've relied on trades. If you can't trade in this greedy, corrupted world, this world will collapse. So this is not good. And also, the fleets that went in, I believe another fleet is going in. Yeah, what was it? Is it the George Bush? I believe that's coming as well. So the USS Enterprise, Enterprise. Oh, that old ship. The Gerald Ford should have gotten through this area where we're just showing the Suez Canal. This should have been backing up the the Lincoln, which the Lincoln, according to mixed reports, the Lincoln might have gotten hit, and that's a carrier. If you don't know what a carrier is damn near a fucking military base on in a ship. Now, if anything happens to one or two of those things, the fleet itself it won't be good. So if the other warship that's supposed to be coming, I think it's supposed to have left it takes a while to get over here. But if they on their way to back up this shit, they got to consider every single thing. All right, and truly believe, and we could clearly see these Edomites. All right, they're not thinking. They can't think. I gotta get the scripture. I always get this mixed up. So it's 14 and right. Luke 14 and 31. It says, or what king going to make war against another king sitteth not down first and consulted whether he will be able with 10,000 to meet him that cometh against with him, him with 20,000. So the key point of this is the council, to consult. This is why the Lord said, let me see if I can get that real quick. Matter of fact, it's two of them. Jeremiah 49 and oh no, I gotta go up. It says let me just type it in. Oh boy. 49 and 7. I was right in the neighborhood. Jeremiah 49 and 7. Oh, right there too. Concerning Edom, thus saith the Lord of hosts, is wisdom no more in Teman, which is, let's go to the word wisdom in this verse, in the Hebrews, which is kakam, actually. Oh, hakam, hakakam. And what it says, wisdom, skill in war. Skill in war. So part of a council is to get all the bright minds, all the bright military minds, and come up with a plan to think things through and strategically position your military with less losses, so that they like madmen. So everything we've been saying is coming to fruition. We know this is all about sacrifice. We know they want to lose some fashionable way, yet they try to keep a straight face as if they're not going to lose. So it's kind of what's the word? It's kind of confusing because you can't make these stupid moves and expect to win. All right. So in one hand, you have the elites that want to move forward with this new world order agenda, which they're all part of. And then you have the other agenda of keeping the same American pride, this whole lie that they've been telling themselves for all this time. So the Lord said about the wise men of Teman, and one of the first things that come up is skill in war. So wars is not just about how much men that you have, it's how to strategize, how you would maneuver, how would you utilize the personnel that you have to your best ability, especially if you understand your opponent's habits. And this is what's being seen right before our eyes, how the Iranians view the Americans as their opponent. And you have, I say, over 20 of the modern day war, the way the wars are conducted, not just of the 90s, but since 2001 with the false flag, you left yourself completely open to be studied by all your adversaries. And they notice a certain type of pattern. Now, this, how they have been bombarding nations with firepower by using their airspace. They have ran this stunt for fucking years. From since the World Wars to the Vietnam War to the Korean War, they ran this stunt. But one thing about both for the Korean and the Vietnam War that they should have studied, you could bomb the shit out of everywhere, but the nations that you're going against, they also are wise in their own consent, in their geographic areas. So you could, like right now, if you bomb the hood, everybody's gonna pretty much die because they're not strategically smart how to maneuver themselves. And you can't afford, yes, the subway here in New York, I'm thinking of, would be one of the best bet, but everything is just so wide open. You have Iran that made underground cities, huge underground cities. So they already have in their mind how they would um, truly use your tactics against you because they study you. They study how the thoughts of America is going back to that foreign minister when he was asked that question about the ground troops coming in. And the first thing he said, we welcome them. Like, that's roughly paraphrased. Either we welcome them or we waiting for them. So the Lord said, look, how you lost your wisdom, your skill, your strategic way of how to use wisdom in war. All right. You have a lot of novices. Like Trump is a novice. Damn near all these presidents were novices when it came to that position that they held. But especially Trump and Pete Hegseth, they have no clue. Matter of fact, let me get that real quick. I'm gonna do. Here's Pete Hegseth. The
said that the U.S. military is essentially aerial superiority, naval superiority over Iran. Yet we're not escorting ships to the Strait of Hormuz. Why? How did you not plan for this? We planned for it. We recognize it. Because ultimately we want to do it sequentially in a way that makes the most sense for what we want to achieve and ensure that we're sending the right signals to the world when we do so. So when Chris Wright speaks or we speak, it's based on a full assessment of what we're up against, what we want to say to the world, how that we want them to see and understand the conflict. It's like this whole idea of the war widening. That's what the press wants to make it look like it's widening and chaos ensuing. No, we're actually closing in on grabbing hold of and controlling what objectives we want to achieve and how we want to achieve it. It's called shaping operations and setting the conditions. But when you shape the environment, you don't always tell. I mean, foolish political leaders and foolish military leaders of the past will hang an exact deadline on it, or here's exactly when we'll do what we're going to do, or here's how long it's going to take us. And then if you meet that, maybe you meet it. But if you don't, you fail. And if you're far beyond, we know exactly what we're shaping and why. We're sending those signals working across the interagency. The Strait of Hormuz is something we've paid attention to from the beginning. And the American people can rest assured we will ensure that our interests are advanced, no doubt.
So what he just did was complete gaslighting, complete word salad, and so forth. They have no idea what they're doing. All right. Now, the way modern day war is, like a prime example, I find that kind of weird when you watch the NFL. And the winning side and the losing side, when it's time for halftime, they ask a coach, "Oh, coach, what are you gonna do?" Get your people motivated. They'll give us some bland shit, but the worst part is right when they come out of the tunnel, or in between the third quarter and the fourth quarter, the reporters are asking them questions like, "Well, what kind of weird shit is this?" So they adapted this thing throughout all their history, um, how they do war, and now we seeing the foolishness that they don't have a clue what the hell they're talking about or doing. Basically, like the scripture says right here, it says, "Concerning Edom, thus saith the Lord of hosts, is wisdom no more in Teman," and because Teman were the Germans, all right. For without the Germans, you couldn't have the rockets to go up. You couldn't have this ability to have MK Ultra. You could you couldn't have the ability to, what's the word I'm looking for? Not word, but it's on the tip of my head. They use fluoride in the water, so that made men more docile. So they had a lot of tactics that we follow to this day in society, and yet they can't figure out what the hell they're doing, in particular with this thing. Now, like I said, they might be saying let all hell break loose, and eventually that's what it's going to lead to. But on the flip side, on the Iranian side, is more strategic. Okay, because we're not going to feel what um, the pain quite yet. Is going to gradually take place because the market cannot hold back everything. It says, "Is the counsel perish from the prudent? Is their wisdom vanish?" So it's all about the counsel. All right. That counsel goes back to what? You have to plan things out, especially when you at war. You can't just do your do your thing the way it is. All right. With all the spy tech that these people have and eavesdropping and seemingly, they should have figured out that this thing that they're doing was gonna last a long time. Now the only thing that they can do is probably nuke the place. But if you do that, then the big dogs are gonna come in and really fuck shit up. So no matter how you look at it, like that thing, Project Looking Glass, no matter how you look at it, it's all gonna lead to the same thing. All right, flee, turn back, dwell deep, or inhabitants of the den. If I would bring the calamity of Esau upon him, the time that I will visit him, if grape gatherers come to thee, would they not leave some the glimmering grapes, which goes back into the law? So somebody, when they harvest, they supposed to leave some grapes for the poor. All right. But Esau has a tendency of trying to take everything that he can. But what's going to end up happening? Yahweh Shai is going to take everything from him. So if thieves by night, they will not destroy till they have enough. But I have made Esau bare. I have uncovered his secret places. That's why this whole Epstein thing is a double-edged sword. And they're using the Epstein, they call it the Epstein War, the Epstein class. They're using that thing to galvanize their people. Think about it. And 20 years ago, The shit that is accepted would never have been accepted. Would never have been accepted. All right. Let's be realistic. Most people care less what's going on in politics. But if you mess with somebody's values of home, oh, you just committed suicide. Right? So now on over here, there's no boundaries. Everything is just gone. The same bullshit that not Trump, Bush had said to lie on who did it and why they did it. They say, oh, because they're jealous of our freedoms and all this other shit. That shit won't fly no more. So, but on the flip side, the other side, they'll look at it like, oh, then first of all, the men will not tolerate this feminist bullshit, and two, why would they let their children be sacrificed to these different gods? That's why there was burning Bel in um, Iran. All right, they're like, we're not gonna accept that. So that itself, you have a lot of resistance. No matter what America try to sell to people, oh, they to what's what I'm looking for? To liberate their women. All right, even their women would not tolerate you sexually abusing their children or traumatizing a child to get their private part to be cut off or mutilated. That shit won't tolerate over there at all. Think about what they're fighting for, what America once had or supposed to had. All right. And look how much acceptance of bullshit has been going on. In Venezuela, they said there was free colleges. Oh, 90 more. All right, 90 more. So think about what that other side is would lose if they allow these people to come in. They're fighting for their existence. While this place, they just don't give a fuck. All the secrets of Esau is being brought out, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, and his brethren and his neighbors, and he is not. And that is really talking about the small hat wearing motherfuckers. All right, that's why they talk ish about their own Edomite brethren, and they will call them Edom, knowing what the judgment will take place for them. This whole um, campaign of evil white men, that was them doing to their own brethren. And so the scripture says, "A house divided against itself, how can it stand?" It's Satan is divided against how can his kingdom stand? So here it is, they blaspheming slandering their own kind, but nothing's happening to them. No, now they are. All right, now the world sees them for what they are, and the world's tired of it. The one that hates Esau the most is Esau. So we could clearly see something major is taking place. Matter of fact, we brought it out at camp. Oh, was it camp or I don't remember. Daniel, there was camp 7. Is Daniel 7 chapter? Let me just type in here. Seven and 20. It says, and of the 10 horns that were in his head, talking about NATO EU, this is the vision. This is what Daniel saw. All right, the beast that was riding. I mean, the beast, the whore that was riding the beast. But before, because that tells you in Revelation 17 chapter, the 10 horns represent NATO EU. It says, and of the other which come up before, whom the 3 fell So that was Britain, France, and Spain. When did they fall? They fell when it came. Remember, America was nothing but a land grab. All right. So you had the French, Louisiana Purchase from, I believe, New Orleans all the way to Chicago. Right? They was fighting for that territory. Then you had Spain fighting for um, like Mexico and so forth. Well, guess what? In the British, what we call the East Coast, I believe that Philadelphia was actually the capital city, but all of them fell. All right, they all lost to this new idea that was called America. It says even of the horn that had eyes and mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows. And that look, which I bet guarantee everybody bring this out a lot, talking about America, that pride. I'm proud to be American. All right. That's what's oozing out. So they believe that they could do. America has lost so many wars. Holy shit. They lost more wars than they actually won. All right. But this is a war driven country. So every strategy that they have done has been done already. This is why you have to know history. That's why they was trying to do another Cuban crisis. The Bay of Pigs, they call it. They were trying to do the same thing over again. A lot of everything that they do is rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. There's no original thought, no nothing. They can't think for themselves. There's nothing brilliant about their leaders because they use the same strategy. How you just did this whole Maduro thing of you sending secret forces, and you believe in your mind if you assassinate the leader of this major place that they will not respond the way they respond. So stout, when you go into the word stout, Ra'ab, which is great. Wow. It says great. Hold on, was it? Am I the right one? It says, let me read that again. It says, I'm gonna put the word great. Very great things whose look was more great than his fellows. So he stood out, more prouder. All right. They have this thing in their mind, which I was gonna bring down. Isaiah 47. We'll go straight to the point. Seven. And thou sayest, I will be a lady forever. So thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, neither didst thou remember the latter end of it. So they have this mindset that they would be always prosperous. That's why it's two, like it's more than two. Like so many different groups within them that's fighting. One that's fighting to keep the nightmare going, another that's willing to change and willing to adapt, willing to move forward, so to speak. Another group is probably just like, just kill it all off, start afresh. There's a lot of things that's going on within Esau. And that pride of them being a lady forever has gotten them where they at right now. All right, this wasn't by accident. This was not well thought out. He didn't even take counsel of his own counsel, and because they would have warned them and told them like this is not a well executed plan. There's more desired. There's more things that can happen with this one act alone, and we see it with our own eyes.
Said that the U.S. never had a bit. Iran already closed the Strait of Hormuz. Now they're threatening to close the world's other critical oil route. Here's what happens if both are blocked.
So you mean to tell me that they didn't know that Iran had that not intel, that influence over there, how much more do Iran has? And why they never did this before? That's another thing that shows you how much restraint that they had. Why didn't Iran did this before? Because these are like the last straws, because they would ruin the whole world. But now they ruin the whole world because of their anger, because of the action of Babylon, which is going to piss off the entire world. So yeah, in deep, we're in deep waters, yo. The more things is coming out, the more things are being revealed. And I ain't no expert when it comes to geopolitics, but I got the gist of it long ago. And this shit can get desperately bad. All right. And all those people say, oh, we don't need oil. We just use um, electric. Well, with this current system, you need is the same thing you try to get away with or get away from, the same thing you're gonna need to get you started with the other thing. So this is the ultimate quagmire. They're never getting out of this situation, and that's the way the Lord wanted it. So they need deep, and they're gonna need more personnel to go out there. With that being said, son, to the spirit, shalom to the elected nations, shalom.